Welcome back. Another episode of They Might Be Self-Aware has arrived. This time with me, Hunter Powers, and...
This time with me, Daniel Bishop.
Yo, 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 it's this time Daniel Bishop!
Hunter.
Yes, Daniel.
I feel like I missed a reference there.
I don't know. I was winging it like perhaps we always do. But my neck's a little sore. Any idea what we're talking about today on the show?
I think we could be talking about keeping your eyes on the road, Hunter. AI is going to put the brakes on rubbernecking, and I think that traffic jams could be a thing of the past.
Well, some companies that don't seem to be a thing of the past, Meta, OpenAI, and Palantir, have more in common than we thought. And it's not just AI models.
Are those tech companies switching from social disruptors to arms dealers?
And is autonomous drone warfare, wow, we took a turn there, inevitable? Or is a Geneva Convention 2.0 in our future? It's all up next because you are listening to...
They might be self-aware.
Hey, Hunter.
Hey, Daniel.
Do you have a car?
I have a couple of cars.
Okay. So at least one. Yeah, great.
Yeah.
Have you ever driven that car and been stuck in traffic, and it turns out the cause of that traffic is that somebody is wrecked on the side of the road or just pulled over or there's a semi-interesting thing off to the side and everybody's got to take their turn looking at it?
I mean, it happens all the time.
Yep. Bunch of rubberneckers. It's the worst. Absolute worst.
I agree.
I was stuck in some traffic the other day.
How novel.
Yes, exactly. And the vehicle...
Wait. Do you have an AI solution for traffic?
Believe it or not, I do. So I've got traffic-aware cruise control, or whatever the term is probably different on a per company basis, but that's the gist, is your car won't run into the car in front of you because there's some sensors that see like, oh, you're this far from them. And if you're in,
I think that's becoming
stop and go traffic, it'll
federally mandated, isn't it? The cars.
Gosh, I hope so.
Yeah, I believe it is.
That would make the pitch that I'm about to make a lot easier.
Huh?
So it let us assume that what you said is correct. All new cars are supposed to have this, like, it won't just do cruise control. It's going to do cruise control and slow down because there's a car in front of you that's slowing down, presumably all the way to a stop. I want the opposite of that.
Okay.
I want, especially for cases where like it's just somebody got pulled over, that your car won't slow down, specifically near, like, I guess we'd have to also be aware at this point. So let's say a policeman has pulled someone over on the side of the road. Yeah. And instead of everybody jamming on the brakes and pulling, making this big chunk of slow traffic that kind of propagates in a wave ever larger backwards and jams up traffic forever, if you're not in the lane next to, the emergency responder, it doesn't have to be a policeman who's someone, maybe there's a wreck and there's like a fire engine, whatever it is, ambulance. But like, if you're not in the lane next to them, you can't slow down. You have to keep just going at least the speed limit. Well, I guess the speed limit is supposed to be as fast as you go. So at the speed limit or very, very, very slightly below. But that way, you don't have people who... This is definitely more of a visual gag, so I'm going to really audio it up for those of you listening.
Okay.
Where they're turning their head and slowing down and possibly veering out of their lane. Really, really don't need to have that happening. And if we can make cars slow down due to environmental concerns, which is, say, someone slowing down in front of them, why not have a 1,000-foot radius or something around the thing that's pulled over? Maybe it's even just some person on the side of the road. It doesn't even have to be an emergency vehicle. It's just you have a vehicle on the side, or there's a thing that is very interesting to look at, and something about that, just the cars aren't allowed to slow down. You have to keep going.
So basically when a cop pulls someone over to the side of the road, onto the side of the road, or is responding to something on the side of the road,
right,
they hit a button which creates a radius around them where cars are...
You got to get out of the lane next to them because there has to be a safe amount of room for them to work. and then you're not allowed to slow down.
And are you losing all control of your vehicle at that point? I mean, is it literally taking over?
No, so, I mean, you'd still definitely have to be able to steer, and you definitely have to be able to, I mean, I guess speed up, and your car would have to be able to slow down if, due to traffic concerns, there just are too many vehicles to keep a safe distance.
Yeah.
But, like, if there's nobody around you, certainly in front of you, why should you be slowing down for this thing that does not need you slowing down, especially if that's going to gum up traffic behind you? I don't think it works until we're at a certain level of autonomy in all vehicles where they can be aware, self-aware enough of what's going on around them. And obviously, this is also horrendous overreach by the government. Like, this is, the actuality of this is a terrible idea, I think. But I really hate rubberneckers, and I do think that, like, a car that is aware of its environment, you know, imagine the level 5 driving sort of scenario, or at least 4, where you still have access to a wheel, and you're looking and the car's kind of driving itself. I want it to black out the windows on the side and be like, you're not even allowed to look at the wreck.
Horse blinders.
Just going. We're still going. Please try not. It's just a wreck. Just keep going.
I mean, even better, the Gen AI takes over your windows and just erases the wreck. Like, let's just alter your reality.
Just sort of paints it. Wow, a field of roses, just like really clumped up together.
Yeah. Why should you see that carnage? Sometimes there is carnage, and it is really
carnage.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Maybe we were talking about crypto last episode, and
I recall.
Maybe we just take those two things and put them together. Where, like, if you slow down, you're being, like, as soon as you hit that decelerator, the brake pedal, as it were, it starts charging you. Just like to not keep going at the same speed near a wreck charges you money.
Kind of like the...
Because there is an economic impact that you could kind of estimate of, like, X number of people at however much they tend to make per hour. Like, there is an actual gasoline and whatever and the potential danger. Like, somewhere there's an actuary table of a traffic wreck a traffic jam costs this much money. Charge the people who are causing that. Let them slow down. Okay, so I take back the thing. They're allowed to slow down, but it's going to cost them tens of thousands of dollars.
And who receives that money? It should be distributed to the other drivers around them. Don't tell me the government
absolutely.
takes
And that's why it should be blockchain or whatever, so that, you know, oh, hey, I may be in traffic, but I just got $37 from that idiot 15 cars up in front of me that had to go and take a look at the moose carcass on the side of the road, or whatever it ends up being. And then that guy slows down and he loses that $37 and owes someone else an extra 15. But at least he could have been up if only he was self-aware enough to keep going. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been little short for an episode. I do think, though, that AI can fix this. I have
a topic for us.
Is it dead moose on the side of the road related?
It is not. It does have more layers than a conspiracy theorist's bulletin board, though. I've been thinking about this. The tech titans turning warmongers. The AI arms race that nobody voted for. But our military industrial complex is increasingly leveraging this wonderful AI technology that we're all giddy about. So strap in. This isn't going to be your grandma's tech talk. We're gonna ruffle some feathers, maybe poke some sacred cows, and maybe make you question. By the way, I'm speaking to you, Daniel, not our audience. But
sorry, I thought that was like the royal you.
Make you question everything you thought you knew about those shiny gadgets and the companies that make them. By the way, where's your plod? Wasn't there a plod at some point? Is it still?
I ordered it. It's been shipped. I think it's like in a warehouse in California at this point.
Okay. So coming soon.
Coming soon.
All right.
Yeah. Now, I know we already have you getting transcripts of the episodes. Should I wear it on one of these and get like notes on our podcast from it? Or should I just come back to you with reports from if I used it in a meeting?
I think get it first.
It's too much of like the Ouroboros, the snake eating its own tail.
Right. Back to the military industrial complex. Our favorite topic.
Lighter notes. Mm-hmm.
And let's kick this hornet's nest. So I want you to picture this Silicon Valley, the land of hoodies, overpriced coffee, and disruptors who have promised us a utopian future. And now apparently they are moonlighting as weapons dealers. The same folks that brought you your virtual farms and candy crushing escapism, they're arming up, and they're not just coding for clicks anymore. We can start with our favorite, Sam Altman and OpenAI. I don't know if you remember, but at one point, like in the OpenAI was the poster child of ethical AI. That was sort of the whole premise of why they were founded.
They were called OpenAI for a reason.
Yeah, and they preached about safeguarding humanity from the potential perils of artificial intelligence.
We're not going to release GPT-2 because it's too powerful and dangerous.
There's a joke there. I don't like going there. But fast forward to today, and they're cozying up with our Department of Defense here in the United States, supplying them with AI tech like it's the new hot app. It's like if Greenpeace started selling harpoons to whalers. But they're not the only ones. Meta as well, the artist formerly known as Facebook, is handing over its llama models. We love the llama models. Mm-hmm. That feels like a Trumpian thing to Trump. We love the llama models. I don't know.
Boy, that was a really, really good impression.
Yeah, I'm nailing those impressions today.
Now, the question is, for those of you listening, was it just Hunter's extremely good impression that he did? Or did he load up that clip into 11 Labs and turn it into Trump's voice?
We love the llama models. But yeah, llama's handing over to Uncle Sam and his buddies, practically gift wrapping the advanced AI, saying, here you go, do with it what you will. Mm-hmm. All while assuring us that they're champions of privacy and democracy. And finally, go ahead, sorry.
No, I was going to say, maybe this is the one you were about to bring up, but Palantir,
yes,
definitely a company known for being the good guys and, all sunshine and rainbows and so on, is
Palantir's
working,
Peter Thiel?
I think so.
Okay.
Yeah, and they're working with Claude now, one of my favorite models. I don't know if Mistral is going to be working with, some just other quote unquote peacekeeping force or military, militia band or something like that next. But yeah, if Palantir is working with Claude and Meta is trying to get the government in general to use its AI, OpenAI is working with like military related organizations. Well, I'll let you get back to it, but I do have some thoughts if this is more on the dark and scary side, because I don't think it could be quite as bad as we're describing. I think it also could.
Palantir is Peter Thiel, and for those that aren't aware, Peter Thiel is one of the co-founders of Palantir, also one of the founders of PayPal, in the so-called PayPal mafia with Elon Musk.
Mm-hmm. If anyone here has heard of him, yeah,
and not aware of all the Silicon Valley inbreeding that happens with these companies and the so-called tech elite that are guiding this whole journey. Another one, Eric Schmidt, Google's ex-CEO. He's the one who we've talked about recently saying, just steal everything and settle it in court later. Mm-hmm. And he's
really upstanding gentleman there.
Yeah. Well, he's been, whispering sweet nothings into the Army's ear about swapping out our tanks for AI drones. He's really pushing on that. He's I don't know. But I don't know. It's like when you think about the merging of AI with actual practical physical warfare, maybe your mind goes to, if we're keeping our soldiers safe, what's the harm? Just, let the drones battle it out. I don't know. Were you thinking that, Daniel? Were you thinking?
Well, what I was thinking, there's something going on in your background.
I don't hear anything. Do you hear something?
Not right now. It kind of sounded like I heard some look.
Yeah. I have a pet robot, and I guess it woke up. And it's in its little playpen, and it's talking now quite loudly for some reason. Maybe it knows that we're talking about it. Yeah.
Do you need to go turn it off while we're sort of paused here? I can hear it, not strongly, but it's definitely coming through. So I worry that's going to show up in the audio.
I say, geez, a flip. Shut up. Let's just go with it.
Right, great.
I'll make a correction moving forward.
Okay. So my thought on this is, large language models are really good at synthesizing a lot of information very quickly. And the government and militaries sort of in general have oodles of information that they want to sift through, whether it be looking through legally or otherwise people's phone calls or text communications or emails or so on to try and identify certain patterns, or people discussing things that could be illegal or are otherwise unpalatable to any powers that be. And we're not going to worry too much about the legality and morality of that right now. Just the fact that a government that has access to a tremendous amount of information wants to sort through that. And it even could be battlefield information. Here's a bunch of reports and walkie-talkie conversations or whatever it is that's coming in, to synthesize all of that data and to hopefully surface insights that are useful to the people that have all of that information. That's an absolutely normal and reasonable use case for large language models. What they're being used for may not necessarily be something that everyone is super jazzed about, but this isn't like putting a speak and spell in a Terminator and having it talk to you as it murders you. This is much more a case of using these technologies to take information from the world, synthesize it, and be able to act on it, or have people be able to act.
But I mean, you know that they are doing image processing and asking questions like, where's the threat? They probably have the same kind of dumb prompts that we have. Oh, what is the threat? How would you rate it on a scale of 0 to 100? Please do not hallucinate. It comes back.
Right. Almost certainly that sort of thing.
If you could choose between these three, should we drone them? A, should we send in troops? B, or send in that robot dog? C. Right. Please rate the approximate percentage of success of each. They're doing that kind of prompting into it. There's like zero chance they aren't.
But also, I do think that instead of making decisions, I think a lot of it is summarization. Because again, you have a tremendous amount of information from a bunch of different sources that are mostly to all unstructured data. And to take all of that and say, what's the upshot of this? The Eastern Front has such and such happening. And also this thing's going on here. And this person needs a resupply. And whatever all of that sort of information is, could take a bunch of analysts a bunch of time, and the promise of the war room of the future, where you really have way closer to actual real-time insights of what's going on and where you need to spend your valuable, the hypothetical general in charge of this military operation or whatever. I think that this is what these kinds of things are for. Now, you also mentioned replacing tanks with drones. I don't think that that's a large language model sort of scenario. I think that's a whole other kettle of fish. And in general, having seen what's going on in Ukraine the last couple of years, I think that drone warfare is absolutely going to be a bigger and bigger component of what's going on.
I think
on the global battlefields. But
I think it is a large language model thing because of exactly what I just said before, where it's taking the images from the drone and asking it to analyze where do you see the threats, and how would you describe those threats, and what are the appropriate countermeasures of those threats in order to process the information. And it's not going to be only large language models, but I do think that the whole generative AI revolution has a potentially significant place in quote unquote drone warfare.
I think that
you're no on that.
Well, no, not a hard no,
a soft no.
Yeah, I'd say a soft no, no-ish, shall we say. If you're going to have a multimodal large language model,
yes,
where it can take a look at pictures or audio or video and then make some decisions sort of based off of that, or if not necessarily make decisions, certainly extract information from that other non-text source. I think where we see that being used more in an actually autonomous way is on battlefields where GPS and radio and so on have been jammed. So if we've got some, $30 million big drone flying through the air and all of a sudden it loses connection with home base, besides a bunch of heuristics of if you're this close, just return to base. If you're doing this, a set of instructions, I do think that some of it would be, we're probably going to start seeing semi-autonomous to possibly fully autonomous modes where this is, we trained for 10,000 images of what a fuel depot looks like. You're supposed to find one and then go blow that up. Yeah, I think we'll probably see things like that, but I still hope that we have people involved in it as much as possible for the future. I don't know. I don't think I relish the idea of an autonomous robot hunting something down and following orders. At least at some point there should be a person involved in saying this is the right thing to shoot or blow up or whatever.
I understand your hope that there are real humans involved, but do you believe that there will be humans involved for, the foreseeable future in these decisions, or?
Yeah, that's a really good question, and the answer is absolutely not.
Okay.
I have my hope, and I know. Yeah, I have my hope, and I know that it's not going to work out that way.
No, I mean, at the end of the day, a human will be responsible. Although I could even see them crafting a legal structure where that's not the case, and maybe that's something that they need to do in order to become fully autonomous, so that they can just. I had a little hiccup. It was a glitch.
Yeah,
that we destroyed this thing that we should not have destroyed.
There is a absolutely terrifying video from, I think it's like a half dozen years ago at this point. It was called Slaughterbots. It's like I guess it's kind of shot like it's a documentary, but basically it shows a near future world where little drones are more and more taking over the doing of war, and then you see it being used against like political dissidents and things like that, and definitely shows what the negative side of this could look like. And I think the cat's out of the bag. I don't think we're going to avoid it, even if most individual people would hopefully agree that a bunch of autonomous drones that could just take out whoever's in charge says they shouldn't be alive anymore, whether it be terrorists or an actual organization or a government or whatever, just the capability to open up a backpack and have a whole bunch of drones go out and wreak havoc. I think that's the future that we're headed to, if I'm going to be a little bit bleak about it. And everyone should watch that thing. I actually just looked up. It is called Slaughterbots. It was a half dozen years ago. It is, I think, an extremely prescient, I think is the term, view into what drone warfare is going to look like. And drone, not warfare.
Link in the show notes. But to take the counterpoint there that maybe we should surrender to the technology, we've certainly discussed before that the way that self-driving cars, full self-driving, not supervised self-driving, are going to come mainstream is because they can prove that they save lives. They are way better than the average human driver. And thus it's for the betterment of society as a whole in our world that we allow these fully autonomous vehicles on our road. I can see the exact same argument being made for war decisions where humans are it's not uncommon for us to accidentally bomb this place that's making babies' diapers or something like that, right? You see the news story, and we could make the argument that AI could do a better job of determining, is this a nursery or is this a place where they are making chemical agents?
Right. And if you have little drones that are capable of taking out individual people, well, isn't that more of a directed thing instead of possibly killing a whole bunch of civilians?
Yeah,
I think that is the argument that's going to be made of more targeted. And if you say, look, it's not just that we don't have to have soldiers on the ground anymore. It's that we don't have to even be giving PTSD to drone operators because they don't even have to look at the thing that they just did. It just happened. And presumably enemy combatants are just going away and we didn't even have to see it. You could, I think, absolutely make that sort of argument where like the people who are these drone operators are having to implement, let alone watch, some pretty gnarly stuff day in and day out for their own mental well-being. Why not give the drone a grenade and just tell it to go off and blow up the bad guys on its own?
Yeah, right? Because you will be able to make the argument that this is the more ethical way of doing war. And then we are saving lives overall, unless you take the stance that there's just something wholly and totally unethical about letting technology decide the fate of our lives, whether you live or die. Can that just be a technological decision with no human involved? Perhaps the absence of a human in that decision is a blight against humanity.
I'm going to go on record now, and let's check back after World War III on this.
Okay, so like in 3.5 weeks.
I think that there's going to be a Geneva Convention 2, or whatever it ends up being, where drone warfare is either explicitly allowed by all of them, all the combatants, or not allowed. And maybe it's not drones, but rather like an autonomous killing weapon. Like there will probably be a point where we do, as a species, at least for those who are going to follow that convention, determine you have to have a person behind the proverbial trigger at some point. Because for every missile that's fired today, for every bomb that's dropped, for every whatever, somebody was involved at some point saying like, yup, and this is, click, big red button with a cartoon bomb coming out of it, go. I think at some point humanity is either going to say, no, all bets are off, at least it's not nukes.
Yeah.
Or, okay, this has gotten out of hand. There does have to be a person involved at some point.
I think that's a good insight. And maybe, just maybe, that should give us all an ounce of pause. Well, you've been listening to another episode of They Might Be Self-Aware. You want more of this? It's easy. Like, subscribe, and it will magically appear in front of you. And you will be entertained and informed and educated all in one brief little sitting here. And we certainly welcome you all. You can find us on pretty much every podcasting related platform. You can watch the video on YouTube. You can listen to the audio on Apple Podcasts or Spotify or any podcast directory really. Just search for They Might Be Self-Aware and you will find Hunter and Daniel. They're ready to embrace you with open arms, I think. Maybe. It depends on the day.
Autonomously. Even.
Sometimes.
Maybe not autonomously. With a human behind it, we are there, ready to embrace you.
But anyways, until next time.
They might be self-aware.